Defence ministers meet in India. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh chaired the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Defence Ministers meeting in New Delhi. Defence ministers of China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan took part in this meeting. Pakistani Defence Minister Khwaja Asif was absent from this meet. The main focus of the meeting remained regional security situations, terrorism and development. But the highlight was the first bilateral between the defence ministers of India and China, Rajnath Singh and General Li Shangfu. It is the first high-level military visit from China since the LAC crisis began in Galwan in the year 2020. Now, the defence ministers' meeting was somber, with no handshake, smile or a sense of warmth. In a statement released by India, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has categorically mentioned that bilateral relationship is premised on the prevalence of peace and tranquility at the borders. Meanwhile, India's other neighbour, Pakistan, attended this SCO summit, but virtually. Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif, who had been invited to the SCO meet, did not turn up. Instead, the Special Advisor to the Pakistan Prime Minister on Defence, Malik Ahmad Khan, made his appearance through a video conference. Although there was no face-to-face conversation, India's Defence Minister addressed the fellow counterparts about the issue of terrorism. Singh said that any kind of terrorist act or support to it in any form is a major crime against humanity and peace and prosperity. Let's also try and get in a sense of perspective in terms of how this defence ministerial meet, especially the bilateral, panned out between India and China. And for that, I'm joined in by former senior diplomat, Mr. G. Parthasarthi. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining in. Now, speaking of the India-China bilateral between Raksha Mantri and Li Shangfu, how do you assess China's intention on the border issue, especially when it's not even acknowledging the need for complete disengagement?
China has two major objectives. One, to undermine us on our immediate borders by taking over places which are really been in our possession for a long time and have always been ours. We saw it in the case of Ladakh, where it dragged on for months. Both sides took heavy casualties by our standards. And in the case of there, we came later this year to the Arunachal Pradesh. And in Arunachal Pradesh, I've dealt with them. They don't get out early easily. In 1986, they went into a part of the province, and it took us about 6 or 8 years to get them out. Before that was after Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi met their top leader, then Deng Xiaoping. Now, the problem is that China's present leader is not Deng Xiaoping. He's got a certain sense of arrogance and a certain sense of wanting to dominate Asia.
Right.
And that he finds India an obstacle. After all, we received him, Mr. Modi looked after him. So it's nothing personal. It's just his hardcore beliefs on India we have to worry about. And right now, his Chinese policy is therefore to what I call as salami slicing, taking bit by bit. That's what they tried recently in Arunachal. It didn't work because ultimately they are looking for the heights of the mountains in Arunachal, in the Tawang area.
All right, let's now also talk about Pakistan. The country's defence minister was absent from the SCO meet. In fact, the defence advisor to the Pak Prime Minister was present, that too virtually. What does it speak of Pakistan's approach to the SCO agenda?
Well, let me put it this way. Having been 7 years in Pakistan, one understood Pakistan much better than China. China is an enigma. But in the case of Pakistan, let's look at it this way. They're in a horrible mess, whether they like it or not. Economically, politically, they have faced serious problems. Now, even from the United States in getting assistance, they are being squeezed by the Americans. Who's backing them alone? China. Just one thing we forget. Pakistan did not build its nuclear weapons or missiles. The designs were Chinese. The engineering technology was Chinese. So if Pakistan can hit us from with nuclear weapons and missiles from Delhi to Andaman and Nicobar Islands, it is not a Pakistani weapon. It is a China-supplied weapon, China-supplied nuclear weapons designs. So there is, unfortunately, in India a problem that we view China purely on the border. No.
Right.
Civilizationally, they look at us, they see us as a different but emerging civilization and power. That is an anathema. There are two countries they would look at that way. One is Japan, the other is us.
All right. Thank you for explaining that so eloquently, Ambassador Parthasarathy. It's been a pleasure to have you on my show. And with